Hey everyone, as always, Dylan Miller Prospecting, and it's Paydirt review time again, and this time we're going to be reviewing a really new seller in motherlodemining.com, and more specifically, their gold overdose bag. Now I have to say, when I first found this site, I was just hit with so many red flags. The first being the site looks like it's a copy of Golden Paydirt with all the keywords, and like most sites that have really bad ROIs, they tell you that there's a huge sale always going on, 70% off, things like that. But the biggest red flags were in the description for the bags of Paydirt, which ranged from $32.50, which is what this one cost, all the way up to $64.99. And every one of the bags had the exact same description on how much gold you will usually find. Now, they don't guarantee any specific amount. They just state you'll usually find between 10 to 30 grains of gold. And that is yet another red flag, is that the fact they use grains and not grams. And if you didn't know, 1 grain equals 0.065 grams. Or it's about that. The numbers actually continue on and on and on. But it is about 0.065, which means that this bag of Paydirt I should find between 0.65 grams and 1.94 grams. And that equates to a 99 to 300% ROI. And I just can't see that happening on a $32 bag of Paydirt. Now, they're not guaranteeing that. They're just stating it usually occurs, which is an over 50% occurrence. And I, again, don't see that happening. I just see red flags everywhere with this Paydirt. But let's just flash up the description with all the red flags, go to the overhead, and check out this Paydirt a little bit closer. As you saw, a pretty bad description. While it says a lot of things, again, it's mostly just hyperbole. They don't really tell you anything about the Paydirt, even where they tell you the Paydirt comes from. What it says doesn't really make any sense. Material composite is that of typical placer gold localities as found in a natural setting. That means nothing. That tells you absolutely nothing about the Paydirt itself. So, not a good description. I don't like the fact that they don't tell you it's in grams. They tell you in grains. It talks about chase bags, even though it mentions nowhere else that there's a chase bag or what the percentages are. And even the amount of material, it tells you it is 10 to 16 ounces. That's a huge difference in material. I mean, saying it's about 16 ounces and giving you 15 or 17 is okay, but 10 to 16, craziness. But there you go, 13.5 ounces in my bag. And let's open it up and look at the material itself. Now, it does look like typical Paydirt that you'll get from sellers. I don't see anything that would make you think it's play sand or anything else like that. So let's go classify this down and be right back. Okay, all done classifying, and as you can see, pretty equal amounts. A little bit more in the plus 20, minus 40, but overall pretty close. And let's check it for magnetite. We'll check the lower classifications to see. Really nothing in there, the squeaky magnet. Just the tiniest little bit. So, yeah, no real magnetite, so it should be easy to pan out. Now, I did see some gold in the upper 2 classifications, but I'm going to be really curious to find out if I find any in the lower 2, because this is where probably the majority of the material is and the harder stuff to actually pan out. But there's only one way to really find out, and that's to actually pan it out. So let's go get some water and do just that. Well, finished panning everything out as you saw, and that was some extremely easy Paydirt to go through, but we'll talk about that in a minute. For right now, let's show you the gold I found. And I ended up finding gold in all 4 classifications of dirt, but this little piece isn't really minus 40. It should be in here. I don't know how it got through. It must have went in at the exact angle so it could get in. I reran it through another 40 mesh classifier afterwards, and I could not get it to go through. But while I was panning, I did find it, so it was made it worth panning out that little bitty pile of Paydirt because I found some gold in it. Now let's start weighing it up with the plus 10 first. (0.135 grams). Minus 10 plus 20. (0.175). Minus 20 plus 40. (0.065). And this one, that's not going to budge the scale, but we'll put it in there anyway. And let's just weigh everything up, see what we get. I don't think we're going to hit that usual 0.65. So there you go, 0.370 grams. Now for this gold overload bag, it was some easy Paydirt to go through. All the gold was above 40 mesh, even that one little piece. It had no real black sands, and it didn't cloud up the water at all. And the material was extremely light material, so it really wanted to flow out of the pan, leaving the gold behind. So for a beginner panner, advanced panner, or even an expert panner, this is really easy Paydirt to go through. All right, finished calculating my ROI, writing up my review, and let's get right to it. Again, this was from motherloadmining.com, and it was their gold overdose bag. It didn't guarantee any set amount of gold, but they say you usually find 10 to 30 grains of gold. Its cost was $32.50. Shipping was $9.80 for a grand total of $42.30. Now the gold I recovered was 0.370 grams or 5.8 grains. So a little bit more than half of what they say you usually find, but nowhere even close to the 30 grains that they say is possible. Now I did test out that one big piece of gold as well, and it did test out at 18 to 22 carats. The gold spot on the day that this was purchased by my secret shopper was $64.82, making the gold I recovered worth $23.98, giving me an ROI of 56.69%, or on my scale, a 5.7. Which really isn't too bad when you consider it's only a $40 bag of Paydirt, so I wasn't too disappointed with that. Now for fun factor, I'm going to leave it the same as the ROI, as a 5.7. There was nothing to detract or add to the value, so I'm going to leave it at a 5.7. Now for Paydirt description, he's only getting a 2. There's no real information in all the description that he has, except for that the Paydirt weighs between 10 to 16 ounces. For quantity and packaging, he's getting a 9. 9 for quantity because that's just too much of a variance for 10 to 16 ounces. And he's getting a 9 for the bag. While it did come in a typical coffee bag, which gives him an 8 score, I did like he double bagged it in a nicer, thicker Mylar bag. So 9 total for quantity and packaging. For customer service and shipping, he's only getting a 5. He's getting a 0 for customer service because I did email him from 2 different accounts and he didn't reply to either one over multiple days. And for shipping, he's getting a 10 because it did ship out incredibly fast to my secret shopper, giving Motherload Mining's Overdose bag a total score of 5.5, which isn't a horrible score. It's not a good score. It's kind of in the middle. But would I recommend this bag of Paydirt to anyone? And the answer would be no. While I don't think the ROI is that bad, I think a 56% ROI is pretty decent for a $42 bag of Paydirt. I just don't like the description. There's way too much things in there that make you scream red flags. And if there's red flags, then you really should avoid it. So unless he gets rid of all those red flags in his description and things like that, I probably wouldn't buy this bag of Paydirt again, and I wouldn't recommend anyone else buy it as well. But that's going to be it. Thanks for watching. Happy panning. And if you're not already a subscriber, think about hitting that subscribe button below.